Hey everybody, I'm John Halpin from FoxSports.com. Welcome to the July 7th edition of our Google Hangout / Fantasy 15 podcast. We're going to be broadcasting in both places. With me today is our friend Matt Lutovsky from the Sporting News Fantasy Department. Matt, how's it going today?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
Pretty good, thanks. So let's start near the top of the fantasy football draft board. Le'Veon Bell would probably be consensus number one were it not for his three-game stupid suspension.
Yeah.
So where do you have Le'Veon? He's going to miss 3 games. Where would you feel comfortable picking him?
Yeah, he's a guy I don't really want. Like, I don't know if I feel comfortable drafting him at any point. Though when I'm making out my rankings, I have him 4th. But it's one of those things where I don't really want the 4th pick. I don't want to have to take him there. I think there's kind of a clear top 3 in my mind: Charles, Lacy, Peterson in some order. After that, though, every guy has question marks. All those running backs have question marks. DeMarco Murray, workload. Forte, Lynch, workload. Age, Charles, new team. McCoy, new team. I don't really know if I want a quarterback there. I don't really want a wide receiver there. It's tough. That's a tough spot to take him. Hopefully the suspension gets reduced, if even a game. But, if you take them that high, you definitely have to grab another legit starting running back in those kind of early, middle rounds to tide you over for those couple weeks.
All right, so Peterson, you feel comfortable taking Peterson 3rd? The year off's kind of spooking me a little bit.
It is me too. That's the funny thing. I was talking about with Brad over at work, and we're like, we don't really want Peterson either. I mean, it's kind of, to me, it's 2 guys. If I don't get picks 1 or 2, I think I'd rather be at the end of the first round, because either way, you're drafting a huge risk in some way.
All right, everybody, this Hangout podcast, you're gonna be able to find it on YouTube. We'll tweet it out. If you're watching on Google Hangouts already, welcome. We're also going to have the Fantasy 15 podcast like we always do. The audio from this will be on iTunes and SoundCloud. Please subscribe to Fantasy 15 on iTunes and SoundCloud. That'll help us out a lot, so you don't have to watch our Twitter feed or anything like that to know when it's ready. Also, Matt's on Twitter at Matt Lutovsky, Lutovsky. I'm at jhalpin37. You have any fantasy questions, whether it's football, baseball, whatever, send them along. We'll be happy to help you out. All right, let's talk more football. Next up, what is your recommended quarterback strategy? I've always been a wait on the quarterback guy.
Yeah, that's always my plan going into drafts, and it kind of never seems to happen because it seems like that's everyone's plan now, and a lot of these really good quarterbacks are falling maybe a round or so further than they should. I mean, I get that idea that, hey, if I can get Tony Romo in the 7th, why should I draft Matt Ryan in the 4th, or whatever the breakdown is? I don't really know. So my plan is always, I want to draft the last starter and the first backup, maybe in back-to-back rounds. One of those 2 is going to work out, and I'll be good. But I found that a lot of times I go into drafts, I did a mock draft recently, an experts mock draft, and Andrew Luck just kept falling and falling. And finally I said, all right, if you guys are going to leave him to the end of the 2nd round, I guess I'll take him. Why wouldn't I? Because it's all about who gets the most points. I know we always love to talk about value and all this, and, so-and-so is basically the same as this guy, but 40 points can be a big difference at the end of the year. So I just kind of look for value as the draft unfolds.
I think that's kind of the biggest difference between drafts that, your average fantasy player does and drafts that people like you and me do. Because everybody out there watching, if you watch these sort of, fantasy industry guys, the people like us and the guys from Yahoo and ESPN and CBS and all of those people, you always see the quarterbacks fall. And it's gotten to a point a little absurd to see people in the 4th round going, do I really want Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers in the 4th round? And it's getting silly at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I think we all come into it. We're higher on a couple quarterbacks than others. And you kind of see the way they fall, and you get to that middle rounds, and you might be in the 6th round, and you would have never expected whoever to be there, Cam Newton, I don't know, whoever you like. And we all know that there's going to be a couple of these quarterbacks who are going to fall on their face. There's going to be a couple who outperform the other ones, and it's kind of about hitting on that right one, or having a good backup and maybe hitting on him.
All right, speaking of Cam Newton, you and I are both in Charlotte. Are you excited about Cam Newton? I am.
Yeah, I like Cam Newton a lot. I'm not a Panthers fan or anything, but I think he's a great quarterback, and I liked what they did getting Funchess. I don't necessarily know if that works the best with Benjamin. I'd like to see him maybe getting a smaller receiver who could run deep routes a little more. But I think what we've seen from Cam Newton so far in his career is he needs a receiver with like a big catch radius. Funchess has that. We know Benjamin has that. He still has Olsen, and we know what he can do running. He's got the big contract now, so I think he's going to have a big year.
It's funny. I do some TV for the Panthers, and I joked around in the studio on how many times during training camp we're going to hear the phrase catch radius. with Benjamin Olsen and Funchess.
It's impossible not to say it. It's the truth. I don't know. Well, what's the last thing? You get him a real quick running back. He can hit some passes out of the backfield who can take it away. I mean, after that, I mean, he's pretty much set with what he needs, I think.
All right. You talked about waiting on a quarterback and then getting the first backup. Who's your ideal backup? I feel like everybody is on Teddy Bridgewater right now, almost to the point where I think he's going to go a little higher than I'd like.
I don't get it, to be honest with you. I'm in Charlotte now. I'm originally from Minnesota, and I'm not a Vikings fan, so maybe I'm biased against the Vikings. But I don't totally see it with that team the way everyone else does. I mean, I think everyone kind of, we like Charles Johnson. Maybe Patterson bounces back. They got Wallace. I don't know. To me, that team, I'm not totally sold on. So for the same reason, I'm not totally sold on Bridgewater. What I like to do with backups is I like to try to find that guy who disappointed the year before, who we kind of thought highly of, because everyone hates that guy. They're like, oh, that guy burned everyone last year. Screw him. I want the exciting guy like Bridgewater, or maybe it'll be a rookie or whoever, which is fine. They might break out. But I kind of like to look for that guy who disappointed, maybe has some weapons. I think this year, RG3, we know he's an injury risk. He might be up there. Kaepernick might be that guy. And, I almost wanted to say Jay Cutler, but then I remember John Fox is there now, so I won't say him. But maybe even Andy Dalton. I mean, he's still got some weapons, and this guy was, the number 3 fantasy quarterback 2 years ago. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. He has a nice bounce back year either. I mean, he could be benched by week 4 too. But either way, it's a backup. So I kind of like to really wait on that.
All right. I'm looking, and we talked a little beforehand, I'm looking Jameis Winston. Just because – I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, bad team, bad running game, 2 good receivers. And as a passer, he's got, he's going to have some growing pains, certainly. But as a passer, there's a lot to like. And I feel like the receivers are going to make him look good.
Another catch radius guy, right? With those 2 receivers and Safaria Jenkins. Yeah, I mean, without question, I think he could have a big year. I mean, really, the ideal guy for me as a backup would be if Tom Brady fell to backup status with his suspension. Then I'd love to grab him right out those first couple games and maybe use him as a starter. That would be the ideal, where I get the last starting quarterback, whoever that is. I don't even know who that is going to be. Is Eli Manning going to be drafted as a starter this year? I'm not sure, but whoever that last guy is, grab Brady, put them together, and I like to think I got a team then.
All right, let's move on to the Saints. With Jimmy Graham gone, who do you like, let's say value-wise, in their receiving core? I mean, Brandon Cooks will be the popular guy, but might be too popular.
Yeah, no, Cooks, I think everyone's on him. Everyone loves him. He should have a big year if he stays healthy. I don't see why he wouldn't. I don't know if I really like anyone else, to be honest with you, except C.J. Spiller, who doesn't really count since he'll be a running back. Part of me wants to say Marcus Colston is falling too far. I don't really like him per se, but he's almost falling so far to the point that it's ridiculous in a lot of the drafts I've seen. But I'm not really buying the Josh Hill hype. I don't know why we think he's going to be good. I mean, Jimmy Graham was good because Jimmy Graham was really good. This isn't just a plug in a new tight end and watch him go system. Right. The way I look at it. And Hill's a guy, I think the only reason people like him is because he stole some touchdowns from Jimmy Graham last year, and they think that's going to translate. If anything, that's a reason for me not to like him. He's not nearly the same type of player, size, speed, leaping ability, and all that. I don't think he's going to be terrible. I'm just not buying him as, a T1 right away or anything like that. I think that offense is fundamentally changed. I think they're going to run more. They invested in the O-line, invested in Ingram. And to me, if anyone's going to benefit from everything, it's going to be Spiller catching screen passes out of the backfield. Yeah,
I kind of like the Spiller. I do too, especially in PPR leagues. Okay, give me a late round wide receiver that you feel like you're going to own in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, this kind of same logic with the quarterback, a guy who disappointed last year. I think, no reason to completely give up on him yet, and that's Marcus Wheaton in Pittsburgh. That's a team that I think throws a ton. They threw the 6th-most passes last year, and I think those first couple games without Le'Veon Bell, they are going to throw a lot. And obviously we all love Brown, and everyone's on Martavis Bryant. They drafted Sammy Coates. But, Bryant was complete boom or bust. I mean, that guy got 3 targets a game, if that. Wheaton was still getting the ball thrown his way. He wasn't doing a ton with it, but he was still getting the ball. And I just think they're going to throw a lot. And that's a guy, if he gets some momentum early in the year, I could really see keep it going.
All right, Matt, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you so much. What should people look for at the Sporting News in the fantasy department this month?
Well, we're gonna unleash the rankings, and obviously we're gonna be updating those all, preseason as we learn things. We got a lot of individual sleeper posts. We have different contributors writing those. And we're going to have some more, kind of lists for different people to look at, what kind of league you play in different ways. You can find the best players for your league.
All right. Thanks again for doing this. I know we'll do it again as the season gets closer, as the season starts. Everybody else watching, please, again, we'll do more of these Hangouts, so please keep watching. You're going to be able to find them at foxsports.com/fantasy/football. Also, if you're listening to this on the Fantasy 15 podcast, again, please subscribe on both iTunes and SoundCloud. It'll help us out a lot. It'll help you, so you won't have to look for it when it's ready. You'll know exactly when it happens. Also, our rankings are going to be updated again probably later this week. We've got some, some great stuff coming out on running backs, wide receivers, committee type stuff, that kind of thing. We're ramping up for football. We're really excited. So check it out, foxsports.com/fantasy/football. Thanks for watching and listening. For Matt Lutovsky, I'm John Halpin, and we'll talk to you again soon.